Hi. I'm a pencil. And, I hope you like the video. In the year of 2021, a dark day has fallen. A battle rages on, many soldiers thrown to the side. A community divided. Markers. Pencils. Two will fight, one will fall. Who will win? Comment down below.
What's going on YouTube? My name is ADCArtAttack. His name is Bob, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Cheap versus Expensive. This is the big one. This is the episode you've been waiting for, the big one. Pencils versus markers. I just can't think of a bigger moment in the art. Like, this is it. It's only down from here. We peaked. Oh, I don't know who's gonna win. So yes, this is the big one. Now for those of you who are new around here, this is the series where I, ADCArtAttack, take two art supplies, usually in the same category, not today. This is a horrible mess of just, This is the series where I, ADCArtAttack, take two art supplies, usually in the same categories, put them up against each other to find out which one of them is worth it at their price point. But today, yeah, we're putting pencils and markers against each other to find out which one of these art supplies is the most worth it at their price point. Now, before we get started with all of this, couple of things to note. This is going to be a personal opinion video. As all reviews are, it's going to be based around my experience and how I feel using the products. But hopefully I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible and as fair as possible in giving you an all-rounded kind of view on the products. So, I don't, like, everyone knows me as a marker artist, so I'm really nervous that pencils are gonna win. I'm definitely team marker. Maybe that'll change by the end. Let's meet our contestants.
So starting in the pencils corner, we have Prismacolor. Once the dominant force in the art community, these pencils have faded over time but are still my go-to. One of the most aesthetically pleasing pencils on the market, they come in many collections, such as a 36 pencil collection set at a price of $20 or 17 euros. A 72 collection for $42 or 37 euros, and a 150 complete collection at an average price of 125 US dollars. A very reasonable price here, placing them in the mid-range for professional pencils. The average price of an individual pencil varies greatly where you shop and can be anywhere from $1 to $1.50. Now, I don't buy individual pencils as my pencils tend to last, so I cannot tell you if that's a reasonable price. With the many ranges of collections from 12, 24, 36, 48, 72, 132, and finally 150, they really have a price range for everyone and anyone looking to try them out or commit to a collection. The lead core of these pencils is a soft, waxy material with a wood cover that tend to match the colors perfectly. A really nice addition, and yes, they do blend very, very well. Moving on to the markers. Today we have chosen Pro Marker by Winsor & Newton to represent the markers. And I've done so because, well, they're awesome. By the way, they also have a brush variant, and I'll talk about that soon. Now, these markers come in at a price tag of $480 or 420 euros. This is for the full collection of 148 markers, which is not the full range. Come back to that in a minute. These markers, just like the pencils, have an exceptionally wide variety of collections, and I am not going to go over all of them, but here are 3. We have a set of 24 markers for $58 or 52 euros, a set of 48 markers for $125 or 110 euros, and the 148 markers for $480. These markers, for this price, fall into the mid to high price range, depending on your location. In regards to the individual price of these markers, it varies greatly depending on your location, with the EU generally priced at around $2.20 or €2 per marker, while in the US, prices range between $2 and $8 really inconsistently. Now back to those collections, you can find yourself collections from 6, 12, 24, 48, 96, and finally 148. And the lower size sets have very many variations, such as all greens, skins, yellows, etc. Actually, they have so many sets, it's beyond any level of convenience. You can replace any and all tones at once if needed. An absolutely beautiful and welcome addition. The 148 collection, however, is not the full color range. Since my last review of these markers, the pens have gone from 172 colors to 189, with the addition of metallic and pastel tones. Now to the brush variant, this pen is gorgeous, featuring a soft brush for fluid natural control and the dreaded broad nib on the other side. I still don't know why most of these companies use this thing. I don't like this nib at all. I mean, look at the graphic B. This is the nib you want. Can we please get a fine liner on every alcohol marker, because this thing is incredible. Now these markers are part of the Pro marker family in the sense that they are completely identical bar the brush, meaning all previous prices apply here, except for one major difference. The entire color range is not available in brush. Last time I checked, only 72 of the 189 colors are available. Now that being said, things may have changed. I can't confirm that, but it's something to note. So with that all being said, it is time to begin pencils versus markers. Who is going to be crowned the worth it winner here today? Let's go. So then, as we start today's comparison, just like all the others, we need something on this sheet of paper to use as a battleground for these two competitors. And I figured, as I've been on a little bit of a binge watching Invincible again, why not draw OMNI? I absolutely love this show, and if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it, though it is a little bit more graphic than typical animated shows. I highly recommend it. It is absolutely incredible. And so this drawing that I'm doing here was done as part of a live stream on ADCArtAttack Live. I'll have a link down below in the description to that channel. But this drawing is an original drawing. It's something that I drew on the fly, and I actually wasn't using any reference at all to do this. I was trying to draw it from memory, so it gets a little bit more of my own style in there, but I was at the same time trying to remember the character and accurately draw it just without any sort of reference. But the big key takeaway here is that I'm actually trying to be symmetrical, or at least as symmetrical as I can, while maintaining a sensible looking drawing for the purposes of today's comparison. But the focus of today's video is not on this drawing, so here is OMNI. Here is my own drawing of OMNI, and I really like it, and I think this is going to serve a great basis for today's competitors to battle it out. So then, let's get things started with pencils. Oh, and the paper. Kinda important. Today I'm using my sketch paper.
But ADC sketch paper is not good for markers.
Well, normally you'd be right. But when it comes to both me and Winsor & Newton, it really doesn't matter. I've used Pro markers on this paper for years, and I am fully confident in this paper with both mediums, so it won't create any bias in today's battle. I'm comfortable and confident I can use both adequately enough. Now, the pencils. I just love the texture and feeling when these go down on the paper. The involvement between the artist and the pencil together in the art is the biggest standout of pencils. You feel every mark on the paper, every bump and imperfection in the paper is felt. Both you and the pencil have a direct connection to the art. That truly adds a level of emotion to the piece. The level of control you have when using this medium is something else. You are truly rewarded for your time, patience, and skills. The only problem with that is, well, time, patience, and skill. Pencils are not a tool you'd reach for when being a casual artist. They're physically demanding, especially when trying to achieve smooth coverage. But as we see here, I'm not doing that. Yet. I'll come back to that point in just a moment. But time is also one of those huge differences, as pencils are a project. The only markings or color you lay on paper are where the pencil's tip meets the paper. And even then, there's texture to the paper that may require pressure to fill in. So inevitably, these take a little longer than other mediums, but they do reward these 3 points. And in regards to the skill, the ceiling on pencils is extremely high. The more you progress, the better they are, of course, but they reach seemingly endless heights. As an example, you and a professional could each use the same pencils, but both of you will still have room to grow. And I think that's quite lovely. Now, as you can see, I've been layering different tones over each other. This creates a beautiful level of depth, but the blends aren't great and the coverage kinda sucks. Well, this is intentional. I actually really love the way it's looking. I like imperfections. I like grit in my art. But this is a personal preference, and unfortunately, if I leave it like, well, this, the markers will come along and dominate due to their coverage and vibrancy. So in order to level the field, I've gone one extra step, and using this magic tool, the neutral blending pencil. With this, I can go over and blend the colors. Now, I rarely do this as it takes a long time, but look at the difference it is making. It takes the pencils from looking like a $10 collection to a $100 professional set. So it is worth the extra time and physical exertion. Speaking of time, this took me 4.5 hours. That's not including times to move the cameras around. For what ultimately looks like this. I actually really like it. I actually love this. This looks great. I'm really like, it's been a long time since I've used pencils and I'm so happy with the results here. This is gonna give markers some difficulty. I mean, markers have to beat this. I don't know how that's gonna happen really. I'm not gonna dwell on this one too much because we gotta get going, but yeah, we'll come back at the end and talk about this one some more. I like it. Moving on. So then, markers. They have a bit of a battle on their hands here with pencils. I mean, they just performed beautifully and were so incredible feeling. So yeah, feeling. That would be the first point against markers right off the bat. Look at me hating on markers. This doesn't happen. Who are you? What have you done with ADC? But no, seriously, unlike pencils, there's a real disconnect between you as an artist and the art when using markers. Now, I mean that in the physical feeling sense. With pencils, we feel every single step of the way. With markers, there's nothing. Sure, there's perhaps a little resistance, but beyond that, I'm just holding a plastic case with some ink appearing on the paper. However, If we look back at those 3 points, time, patience, and skill, while markers lack a physical feeling connection thing, I gotta come up with a word for that. Emotional bond. It's not really a word. Anyway, they have a huge advantage in some of these areas. Starting with time. It's not even a contest. You can fill a page, finish a piece in a fraction of the time when using markers. The point of contact with markers is more of a guide than a rule. The inks will spread out and cover a lot more areas quicker, so casual artists will probably sway towards these a little bit more. Patience? You really don't need much. They're so user-friendly and the results come quickly. I mean, just a couple of strokes and you already have far greater coverage and a more appeasing to the eye process occurring. So you feel rewarded as you go rather than waiting until the end. Then you have skill. This is a different area and a hard one to discuss. Personal feelings, I'd say markers don't have as high of a skill ceiling. It's a lot lower, so reaching that, I guess, end game is quicker. But of course, your style and finesse with markers will continue to develop as you use them. Now, it's also a good idea to sort of complete your areas as you go with markers. Most can't reactivate. Winsor & Newton can, fortunately, but typically, you want to catch the inks while they're wet if you intend to work with them more. So as we see, I've been blending as I go, though I focus on one color palette at a time purely because I don't want like 50 markers over my desk. I just like to keep things simple and controlled, though when it comes to the art itself, I much prefer messing about and being free. Like, you will find your style with markers, but for me, I prefer the messy approach, and seeing where things go with happy little accidents along the way, it's where I perform best. By trying to do worse. I just love markers. Alright, so here we are. The results of cheap versus expensive pencils versus marker. What do you think about it? Do you like it? Now, looking at the two of them together, clear big differences, and yeah, which do you think is now the most worth it? Which looks best? Kinda two separate questions, really. Let's take a closer look at each one while we decide. So starting with markers, what's left to say that I haven't already in my career? I'm known as a marker artist. I'm known for praising these markers in particular. They are amazing. Your skills with these markers will forever grow due to their ability to be used on multiple surfaces, in multiple styles and different papers. Along with their incredible blends and colors, even a seasoned pro will learn and grow while using them. Moving on to the pencils. Now, we have a few big differences with these. First, the texture. Pencils have a natural texture that looks so cool. I love messy, unclean art, and pencils really cater to that if you want. Or you can be perfect. They allow for full control and a much wider spectrum. Which brings me to one of the other differences. Pencils require time, and a lot of it. Physical exertion, patience, pencils are a workout. This can deter many who don't have time for art, but for those who do, I just love how involved they make you feel and how special the art feels when complete. You are there every step, controlling every aspect, and you feel everything in the end. So both were incredible, but which one of them is most worth it? The pencils coming in at $125, or the markers at a price of $480. For me, we have a split between a personal preference and an objective difference. Personally, I love markers. They draw your attention, bright, smooth, and they look professional. On the other hand, pencils, they just feel different. They feel artsy, they look how you want them to. So, considering these points, my winner is pencils.
So there you have it. I went into this really expecting markers to be the dominant force. I wanted markers to win, but it doesn't always work out like that. And in some instances, like today, I've got to go the other way. So yeah, what do you think about today's video? Do you agree with my views, with my opinion by the end of it? Obviously, this is an opinion-based type topic. Pencils versus markers, we are gonna have our own preferences. So I'm really curious to find out which one of these ones you preferred at the end of the video, and if your opinion changed from your original kind of team. That is all we got time for today. My name has been ADCArtAttack. His name is Bob, and if you'd like to see more animations from me, or just, some animations from me, then hey, leave those comments down below. Let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye. My arm really hurts. Whoa.